Right, package availability assurances. Now, this is the availability extrinsic, and it's, as I mentioned before, we erase your code work packages. We actually erase your code, not just the work package, but the whole work bundle and all of the exports. Yep, so we're actually doing quite a lot of erasure coding. And we want to make sure that all of this stuff is available for download by auditors before we say accumulate, before we fold everything in and sort of mix and bake a cake with it, yeah? Because once you sort of baked the cake and finalized it, you can't pull this stuff out again. So we want to make sure that it doesn't poison the cake. All right. So we're first going to compute, or first going to specify row double dagger. Row double dagger is the intermediate state of row after we've folded in the assurances, extrinsic. Yeah? And once we've computed this, then we can compute row prime for posterior row, which is going to tell us which is where we're going to fold in the guarantee extrinsic as well. As it happens, we're also going to compute or define W bold, big W bold, which is the work that is ready for accumulation. So these are the two things that we need to know for now. We're not going to accumulate state in this step. We could, as it happens, but accumulation is saved for another section. We just want to know W. When you're implementing this stuff, you can actually do quite a lot of this in asynchronously. In particular, once you have bold W, you don't need to, you can produce your block and send it off without concern. Because once you have bold W, and of course the rest of state, all the posterior state, well, actually, no, when you have bold W, you're kind of good to go. Yeah, you still have to make sure that sort of any of the other extrinsics are valid. So, for instance, you probably are going to end up computing row prime, because that implies folding in the guarantees extrinsic, which means guaranteeing that checking that they're actually correct. But this W just tells you what work needs to be folded in, what accounts need to be moved along, and what work outputs need to be folded into those accounts. This is infallible, right? So once you have bold W, you know that on this stage of things, in this sort of work pipeline, it's not going to fail. The header was valid, yeah? And this is like crucial to write a good client with, because what you're going to do with bold W is move all of the state of all the accounts through, yeah? But because you've got bold W and you know that no error can be made, no sort of fatal error can be made in this sort of work pipeline now, you can get on and finish up the header and distribute the block and sort of calculate the state later. We don't require the posterior state to actually be placed or referenced at all in the header. There's no commitment for the posterior state needed, and therefore you can save this work for later. Yeah, you can do it asynchronously. You have basically 6 seconds to do it. Yeah, because you need to do it before producing the next header, where it requires the prior state, and therefore you need to know what the results are. All right, good.